Hi, good evening. I'm Nicole with Together We Will, Cincinnati and Southwest Ohio, and I am here tonight with Dr. Kareem Moffett, who is running for Cincinnati Public Schools Board of Education. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, our pleasure. We have a number of different groups connecting to our live feed, so while they are doing that, let me just run down a few things. Joining us tonight, in addition to Together We Will Cincinnati, Southwest Ohio, we have Together We Will East Cincinnati and Anderson, United We Stand, and Indivisible Cincinnati for All. So thank all of you for being with us. If you would like to ask a question to Dr. Moffett, please do so. All you have to do is type a comment into the live feed with your question. And we have people behind the scenes here, thank you to Sean and Martha, who will see your question and then will relay it to me here on my laptop, and then I will pause and I will ask. If you're wondering where our set list of questions come from, we solicited them from Together We Will membership. If you are a school board candidate or a member of a candidate's staff, we do ask that you hold off on questions tonight because it's not a debate forum, but hopefully you do have a debate forum coming up. Do you? Mm-hmm. Yay, okay, good. Do like our page, our public page. If you would like to catch up on previous Q&A events, all of them are on our YouTube channel, and the link to that will go in the comments under the video. You can also see most of them, if not all of them, on our public Facebook page. And of course, we are on Twitter, and our Twitter handle is TWWSWOH. We do announce all of our events on Twitter as well if you want to follow us and keep up. If you know anybody who might be interested in watching, this is public feed, so please share it and invite them to join us. I think we're pretty much all linked up, but I'm just going to review one more time how to ask a question. Make sure that you comment on the video feed itself and not on the post, because if you comment on the post, we probably won't see it. But do click on the video feed, ask your question in the comments, and we will ask. And you're prepared to answer questions about your candidacy and your background?
Yes.
And probably some about the school board itself, what the school board does, policies, things like that. Okay, great. All right. I'm going to briefly introduce Kareem, and then I'll let you talk about your candidacy, and then we'll launch into questions.
Okay.
Okay? You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So, you can find Kareem on the internet and on Facebook, and her website is drkareemmoffett.com, and Moffett is spelled Moffett. That's correct, right?
That's correct.
Okay, good. I want to make sure I got that right. And Kareem is K-R-E-E-M.
K-A-R-E.
K-A-R. I knew I was missing a letter. K-A-R-E-E-M. Okay. And on Facebook, she's at Moffett for the number 4 education. And maybe we can put those links in the comments as well. Yeah, all done? Okay, already done. I didn't even have to say it. Kareem was born and raised in Cincinnati, and you graduated from Ursuline Academy in 1990?
I did, a long time ago.
I'm going to take a wild guess and say that's a Catholic school.
It is.
All right.
All girls Catholic school.
All girls, wow. Those still exist? Do they? Wow, okay. She has several advanced degrees in addition to that, an associate's in chemical engineering technology, a BS in natural sciences, an MA in remedial education, and a PhD in educational studies with a specialization on urban students.
Yeah.
Yes? And all of those are from UC.
That's right,
Yep.
UC.
So that's a pretty broad range of topics, actually. You didn't stick to one narrow topic. You really spread out. That's good.
I don't know if it was good, but that's kind of how that happened.
Wide experience is good. And you've had 3 sons attend Withrow University High School. One is still yet to graduate, and one graduated this spring?
Yes, June 1st, 2017.
Yeah.
One graduated in 2012.
In 2012?
And then my youngest is graduating in 2019.
Wow.
I know.
Now, you worked for the independent schools.
I did.
I'm going to ask you more about what independent schools are later, because I'm not quite sure myself, and I bet there are people in our viewing audience who aren't quite sure either.
Okay.
Or do you want to tell us now what constitutes an independent school?
I can. An independent school would be versus a parochial school. Independent school is not affiliated with the church versus a parochial school, which is usually church sponsored. So you would have, like, for example, St. Joseph's School is affiliated with the St. Joseph Church. That's a Catholic parochial school. And an independent school, there are several of them in the city. Ursuline Academy is one where it's not church-based. It is religious in that it's Catholic, but it doesn't answer to the actual Catholic Church.
Are all independent schools church-based, or is that not necessarily?
They are religious-based, yes.
They're usually religious-based, okay. And I am guessing they aren't charter schools, though.
No,
and
they're private.
They don't get tax funds.
No.
Okay.
That is strictly tuition-based, and they live in, all their programming is based on tuition.
Okay. So neither charter, nor parochial, nor public.
Correct.
Okay. I didn't even know that was an option, so I have learned my thing for today. I'm sure I will learn more things. Okay, and then while you worked in these independent schools, you worked with minority recruitment and retention, diversity training and awareness.
I did.
Yes,
I did, and I went back to Ursuline Academy, which is where I graduated, and then did help them. They received a grant, and we it was kind of do good money to increase their minority enrollment, increase their diversity awareness. I started a diversity initiative there.
Really?
And we did some training, facilitation, mediation for their staff to increase awareness on what diversity is. At that time, which was some years ago, diversity was kind of a buzzword, but it was a word that was becoming annoying to people, and that they thought it was just race-based. So I expanded that to mean, for that community, learning styles, political beliefs, and really for that community it was, you can believe whatever you like, you just can't make me feel uncomfortable based on that belief. And so that was also one of my challenges, is getting the community, the students, the staff, and the community at large aware of what diversity really meant for that community, and then accepting to move forward in that. So it was fun. We increased enrollment, minority enrollment, we increased awareness. It was awesome.
Well, thank you for that. That's very important work. Appreciate it.
I loved it.
Good. And you've also worked in the Cincinnati public school system.
I have.
Elementary and high schools, teaching math and science.
I did. I worked for a grant it was a Gear Up grant, and it was a partnership with 5 entities: Cincinnati Public, the University of Cincinnati, Cincinnati State, the Enquirer, and there's one more, just can't think of it. We actually partnered with those organizations, NCPS. I co-taught math and science with a cohort, so it was 5th, 6th, 7th graders where we started, and it was the second cycle of that grant. Then we followed them, so they started 5th, 6th, 7th grade, and then they went 6th, 7th, 8th grade, 7th, 8th, 9th grade, and so I started at John P. Parker with the 5th, 6th, 7th graders and South Avondale. I would split my time through the week, and then as they progressed forward and went to the 9th grade, that's when I was at Withrow, and met some awesome teachers, some awesome students, and because my students at John P. Parker or South Avondale could go to any school, I had relationships with students across the district. Hughes, not just Withrow, Taft, just all over. Students went everywhere, and I kept in touch with them. So
that sounds really rewarding.
Yeah, and then I taught science 1 year, 10th grade science in 2013 by myself, and that's when I really kind of got in the trenches on what the teachers go through as far as parent engagement, student engagement. There's a difference between the theory that you teach, that is taught in schools, and it all sounds great, and you get this armor, and you think, I can do this. And then you get in there, and you're like, ooh, whoa. I had to depend on teachers a lot to teach me beyond the theory into the application. and they did. So I'm always going to support teachers. I've got some awesome friends that are teachers, and they do a lot with a little. So I taught science, I taught geophysics, and that particular graduating class that I taught graduated last year. So they're my babies. Yeah.
Very cool. So you said you taught as part of a cohort. So what does that mean?
That means that we followed those students. It was a cohort of students. So it was the 5th, 6th, 7th graders across the district. We followed them. My schools that I was assigned to were John P. Parker and South Avondale. So I got the 5th, 6th, 7th graders and kept them as they progressed through their high school career.
I thought that meant you were part of a cohort of teachers as well.
No, I actually would go in and work with the science and math teachers, but wherever I was needed is kind of where I was for that particular school, for that particular grade of kids. So I've co-taught 5th, 6th, and 7th grade math and science, and then 7th, 8th, 9th grade math and science. So we just kind of followed them. It wasn't the teachers, it was the students.
Got it. I got it now. All right. Okay. And you've taught at the University of Cincinnati. You taught at the first year experience course, which gives students like best practices for succeeding. And you also were an academic advisor there.
I was.
Yes. And you're currently at Cincinnati State teaching math.
I am.
Yeah. Okay. And you've got a lot of training in mediation and conflict resolution. That seems like it could come in really handy right around now.
Yeah, it does, especially with our students, our parents, engaging them. When I was teaching, and actually now I'm back doing some work with the schools, typically the students are not the problem, it's the adults. And so we have to engage the adults, we have to do some conflict resolution with them, some facilitating with them, teaching them how to advocate for students. For their own students. So yeah, it comes in handy.
Yeah. I am familiar with the theory on that and how it differs from practice. You're on the board of Invest in Neighborhoods.
I am.
Okay. And you're the chairperson of the Withrow Local School Decision Making Committee, which I was very careful to type out because I can never remember what LSDMC stands for. So I was like, oh, better look that up when I was preparing today.
This is true. I was elected this past school year prior to us selecting a principal.
Okay, and as I understand it, you're involved in the selection of the principal.
We did. We selected a principal.
You did.
We did.
Oh, wow.
It was tough, but we did it. We did. We selected a principal. Our principal chose to move on to something different, the one that we had, and it was pretty tough. And it was only tough because it was getting people together over the summer to help with, when teachers check out, they take that much needed break. And it was just, they were committed, that community at Withrow was committed to coming together to get what was best for the parents and the students and the staff. So we did it.
Great. Good job.
Thank you.
That seems like pretty efficient because that's not a very long time to select a principal, is it?
We started this process, I think, in March, like maybe March or April.
This year?
Mm-hmm.
And it's now only August, so... Yeah. And when did you select the principal?
He started at the end of July.
Oh, wow. That is like the fastest job search ever. And you've been endorsed by the National Association of Social Workers.
I have. I'm very grateful for that trust. So yes, I have.
So that really speaks to like a lot of your educational background is in the math and science fields, but you've got an endorsement from social workers here. That's speaks to your broad education.
Thank you.
And experience, of course. So I'm going to let you say whatever you'd like to say about yourself and your campaign at this point.
Okay. I decided, I don't want to get into the questions, but I decided to run. I've been asked several times by several different community members, you should run for school board. I am always a forever advocate for kids. If any parent comes to me and has a question or a comment or a concern and it's involving one of the students, then no matter where they are, I always tend to jump on that. And so I decided to run, and I'm more of a public servant. I would consider myself a public servant, but I tried to learn how to be a politician. and I just can't. I'm a public servant. That's what I am. That's what I do. And I always will advocate for students, always advocate for parents, and always advocate for teachers. And so I wanted to affect change for our students in Cincinnati with respect to education on a broader level. So I decided to kind of dive in and try to do that. And that was the purpose of me running, is because I want to affect change in Cincinnati, specifically for our kids.
Okay.
So that's what I've always done. I've always been more of an advocate. That's kind of what facilitation and mediation is also, is teaching that. And so that's just me, and that's why I'm running.
All right. Tell me more about what you think the difference is between a politician and a public servant.
Well, I actually have had that told to me because I told someone that on an event that I went to, I said, I'm learning how to be a politician. And he said, you're not one. Politicians tend to take, and public servants give of themselves, and you're a giver. Not that being a politician is bad. I'm entering into this arena, but by nature, I'm just a giver, and that's what a public servant does. They give. And they want, for me, my version of this is to include everyone at the table. I want to just be the eyes and ears of the community. I can't be the solution, but I want to be part of the solution, in that I want to be the voice for parents that can't get to board meetings. I want to be the eyes and ears and let people know what's going on so that they can make an informed decision based on all of the knowledge. So that's kind of a public servant. A public servant wants to give, and that's me.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
We're about to jump into questions, but before we do, I just want to let the people know who have recently joined us that I'm Nicole with Together We Will, Cincinnati, Southwest Ohio, and with me is Dr. Kareem Moffett, who is running for Cincinnati Public School Board. And if you would like to ask a question, please feel free. All you have to do is comment on the video feed with your question, and it will be relayed to me here. So, ready?
Ready.
Questions.
Okay.
Okay. First question, very general. Why do you want to be on the Board of Education? You've talked about this a little bit, but I'll let you elaborate.
Well, the Board of Education, the whole purpose of the board is to enact policy that is going to be applicable for the district as a whole, and the board is the boss of the superintendent and the treasurer. And so I want to affect policy on a broader scale for our kids. I want to give the community a voice in that policy change, or at least knowledge on a broader scale. So, and I want to support efforts that the community want. So for me, running is to make a bigger difference and to connect, to be that conduit for the community on a broader scale with respect to getting the knowledge out about policies, and then also to hold the district accountable. It's one thing to make a policy, but is it effective? Is it working? I want to be able to reach back and see, we've got this policy on bullying or this policy on dress code, but is it working? And so if it's not working, we need to effectively change that. So that's why I'm in it.
Can you give us a little bit more details on what kinds of policies the superintendent and the school board have influence over?
It would be, the superintendent's job is to be in charge of the principals, and the schools. So the board doesn't police personnel issues as far as this principal's not effective, or this principal's not doing this, or this teacher's not doing that. That's the superintendent's position. But policies like bullying across the district, policies like, I mentioned the dress code, but it could even be about discipline. It could be about communication for the district, things that affect the district as a whole. That's the responsibility of the board, to not only enact those policies, but I think it's also their responsibility to make sure that they're working. So anything that affects students on a broad level, even like transportation, the policy for transportation, things on a bigger level.
All right. And what are the top issues facing the district right now, and what do you plan to do to help resolve them?
Right now, for me, my opinion, the top issues are that we need to renew this levy that we have, and I think our communication needs to increase. Our community engagement needs to increase. We definitely need to support our preschool learners. We have got to get a good, solid foundation for our kids and their parents. So communication to the community engagement, communication on all levels, and then supporting our preschool learners. We've got quite a few big ones, but those are to me, those are the really, really big ones. I personally would like to also work on workforce development.
Okay.
What does that look like? We've got some excellent schools, and they are focused on specific areas, but we've got a group of students who are kind of getting lost, and we need to have some other options for them as far as career development, workforce training, and I want to work on that also. I don't know if we'll ever bring back vocational trainings to the schools, but there's some creative things that I think we can do with respect to transportation and our budget to get our kids to have a few more options. Okay. So I think career, workforce development, communication, community engagement, and then supporting our preschool learners, our early learners. I say preschool early learners, meaning preschool and kindergarten learners, and then their parents.
Would it be fair to say those would be your top priorities going in, or do you have additional priorities as you're
I think those
considering?
That's
fair. Okay, that's fair. Okay. What was the biggest change or improvement that you initiated in a previous position, and what specific difficulties did you face?
I think that the most recent difficulty was in getting the principal selected. That was the most recent. I wanted to have all voices represented at the table, and so that meant we had to do a qualitative and a quantitative study. For me, in my opinion, we did this as a group of the staff, of the students, and of the parents to find out what we wanted. What do parents want? What does the staff want? And then sticking to what the community wanted was tough, and not giving in. And as a group, we were very successful with doing that. So I don't take any credit for that by myself. I just think that our team worked together to effectively get that principal selected in time, so that our students didn't miss a beat, our parents didn't miss a beat. Our school's going to open on time with a regular principal, and he's great.
All right. So the superintendent doesn't just have carte blanche to choose principals?
No, we make the LSTMC makes a recommendation to the principal after the interviews, after looking at the resumes, coming up with questions based on our culture within our school, and then interviewing those candidates. We make a professional recommendation or a formal recommendation to the superintendent, and it was under Mrs. Ronan, and she accepted our recommendation.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. What do you want voters to know about the Cincinnati Public Schools Board of Education, or about Cincinnati Public Schools in general?
Well, I like to highlight the positive. We have some awesome schools in our district.
Yeah.
We have Walnut Hills, which everyone knows about, and we have Clark, which everyone knows about. But we've got some schools, some neighborhood schools that are doing good things. We've got some other schools that are doing great things also. So I think we have a blueprint of what works. I think we have an excellent blueprint of what works. I think we need to replicate that across our district more readily. So when you see the state report card, when you see news articles that say that our district is not doing well, it gives you a false impression that that's everywhere across the district. And it's not. We've got some schools that are doing excellent things. We've got some staff that are doing excellent things. And so we need to highlight that. I just think that there are ways that we can improve. We can definitely improve in communication. That's if we get the word out that we're doing good things at this school, Taft is doing good things. We've got Riverview doing good things. We've got Woodward doing good things. Dade doing good things. We have schools that are doing great things. Then maybe we can reinvigorate the energy of the community to be more involved with what's going on in our district. So I think it's easy to say what's not working. I kind of like to say what is working, get that out, and then ask for help with what needs to be fixed. We have some challenges, but we are doing good things. We have a blueprint. Let's just replicate that.
So you've mentioned better communication a couple of times. What does that look like for you?
Well, I think that the district does, because I am a current parent, I get the emails, I get the robocalls from my school and the emails from the district, but I think that we need to have more of a presence, a physical presence in the community. I think for me that looks like going to community meetings and bringing the information from the board and explaining it in lay terms. So if the community if we want to renew the levy, we might need to explain to the citizens what a mill is. I'm not even completely clear on that, but we might need to explain why we need it, and we need to do better about getting the word out to the community and be where they are. Maybe it means that we have a meeting or a Facebook Live or something where it's explained in lay terms to citizens so that they can understand. That's, to me, more effective communication in my mind. I think I'm an evidence-based person, so I looked at a survey that the district did, and we have 30,000 plus students, but we only got less than 3,000 responses from a survey. We need to do better. And maybe that means that we actually go and walk and find out what people want. So I think it's just more engagement. It's having more of a presence is what I'm speaking of. And I'm labeling that communication, and it is communication, but I'm even speaking, come out from behind the Board of Ed and actually be in the face of people who are going to vote for our levies, who are going to vote for us to even be there, first of all, and then vote for the levy, vote for things that we want in order to affect a difference, a change. I just think we need to be where people are. And so for me, that's what communication looks like. Email is easy, it's impersonal. Robocalls are easy, but again, impersonal. We need to have some face-to-face. We need to have an opportunity for parents that can't come to a 6:30 or a 7 board meeting to be able to see a board member face-to-face and ask a question. And it means that you may have to do that at a time that's more convenient for parents than it is for us. So maybe a Saturday, I don't know what that looks like. I'd like to know what the community wants. What is it that they want? I don't want to tell them. I want to know. I want people to email me and ask and tell me, what do you want? But I think it looks different than what we have right now.
Okay, that is fair. All right. I'm going to move on to discussing working with stakeholders, since that's pretty much where we have wound up, actually. So we've talked about your role on the
SDMC.
Thank you. I'm not native to Cincinnati, and I'm like PTA.
That's okay.
PTA is what it's called. None of this 5-letter stuff. So you talked about selecting the principal at Withrow. Have you ever had to dismiss a staff member?
That's never been my responsibility.
Okay.
That's the principal's job. I don't want to step on their toes. That's what the personnel issues, that is what the principal does. Okay.
Seems like that'd be hard.
I wouldn't want to do it.
So unions, though, have you worked with unions? I'm guessing you have, as somebody who's taught. You've worked with unions.
I'm currently in one.
You're currently in unions. So what do you think about successfully working with unions?
I think it is definitely a necessity. I don't have a problem working with my union at all. I think that unions are needed, and they protect our employees We've got some pretty strong unions with Cincinnati Public, and they're fighting for fair wages for our employees, and I think it's definitely warranted.
Is there anything that you would change about the way the Cincinnati public school system currently works with unions?
I've been to board meetings, and it seems as if the needs of the union are very well represented as far as what the union is looking for. I know I was at a board meeting a couple weeks ago, and they had some new hires, and so they increased the wages to be the $15 per hour minimum based on the union contract, and I was all for it. So I definitely think that it's working, but in the event that I were to find out that it's not, I would be an advocate for sitting down to the table to find out what the needs are, and let's work to get it done.
Okay. Can you tell us more about a situation where you demonstrated communication with stakeholders, parents, community, volunteers, where you needed support for something that you were doing? Can you tell us if you had that kind of situation in your career and what you did?
Beyond just the LSDMC for Withrow, when I did work as diversity director at Ursuline Academy, I did have to engage the community of the current community at the time to let them know what my diversity initiative, because I was creating a diversity initiative, we didn't have one.
Okay.
And so I had to let the students know, let the staff know, solicit organizations that may have had a preconceived notion of what Ursuline was and what we did, and that we didn't want diversity. And so it was about relationship building, and it was about getting people to see something differently, getting them to be open to change. And so in that particular role as diversity director, I was able to partner with the community. I partnered with Sukasa at the time to let them know that we're trying to do something different and what that was, and get their opinion, bring them to the table. So I've had to bring stakeholders to the table, parents, students, community members, the administration, and we've had to have some tough conversations, but then my motto is disagree and commit. So you can disagree, and I got that from the Amazon president, but you can disagree. We can disagree at the table, but we're going to leave committed to what we have come to do. And so the goal is to leave with an agreement that we can all work on. We may not agree on parts of it, but we're going to leave with an agreement, and that's what we did. So engaging all the stakeholders, recognizing who they are, and then engaging them all, and I was able to do that with diversity.
Now, how did you get them to come to the table?
Face to face, going to them and actually holding meetings for staff, letting them know and that was actually, I held collective meetings, but first it was introductions, face to face, one-on-one, letting them have an opportunity to meet me and tell me what their concerns were. All stakeholders, so that was the staff doing that. And it didn't have to be long meetings. It was like 10 or 15-minute meetings, letting them vent, letting them tell me what they thought I was going to do, and then also telling them what my plan was, taking diligent notes, and making sure that they knew that they could trust me with what they're telling me to be true, and then that I was going to stick to the plan. Letting the students vent, letting the students know that I was here to listen and the direction that I'm trying to go in. Letting parents vent on what they thought the initiative was, and at that time, parents thought it was just to increase black students, and it was not that. It was that in addition to other things. And again, it's been my experience when people know exactly what the plan is, they either jump on board because now they understand it better, or they'll give you a voice that lets you know where their concerns are, and then you can address it. So face-to-face, one-on-ones, and then collective one-on-ones, but gathering everyone's voice at the table. And then we just committed to the goal to increase the things that we had set out for, and that was it. Everybody was on board, and we did it.
All right. We have a live question.
Okay.
It is, you talked about the importance of diversity and having a broader view of diversity than just race. Are there any diversity issues that you'd like to tackle as a CPS school board member?
Wow. There's gender inequality that our nation is talking about. Transgender. I don't want to use the wrong word, but transgendered, and I think our kids are talking about that also. So I really want to learn more about that. To be honest with you, I even include learning styles. I don't think we do enough about teaching our kids different learning styles. Everyone has a learning style, and it can change based on subject, but we don't do enough for educating, for including learning styles in with diversity. And that could be students with special needs, it could be gifted students, it could be students with IEPs. All of that is diversity. Clearly socioeconomic, race is in there also, but gender, not transgender, but gender for females, the female inequality. I'm a girl. I'm a girl, so it's applicable to me. But definitely those things also.
Okay.
I would include those things. I need to learn more, and I would bring people that have more information. They need to teach me about what their issues are. I can't profess to know how it feels to want a transgender bathroom. So I have to go and get that information from the community that it would be applicable for, and then bring that back to the table. So that's what I do.
I'm sure Glisten would love to talk to you about that.
I'm open.
And again, if you have any questions for Kareem, just comment on the video feed with your question. It'll get relayed to me here. Thank you for the question already. And if you have a follow-up to that, please feel free to add in. So let's move on to actually working with students. We've gone to students now. And you talked about learning styles. This question is pertinent. With such a large spectrum of learning abilities, from gifted and talented to students with IEPs, and you mentioned IEPs before, those are individualized education programs, and maybe you could tell us more about those for people who aren't familiar. What will you do to ensure that all of the children in the district get the services they need?
That's a good question, because I've had questions about students who I don't have personal experience with that, so I've had to go out and gather some information about that and connect, be that conduit for parents that had questions about their IEPs, the students with individualized plans that I couldn't answer, so I had to make the connection with student services in the district or connect them with a parent who had that information also. But I think that it's important. I got a question like this on my page also, and it stated that the district didn't do enough for students with IEPs. And so I asked the parent to share more with me on what they would like to see. And I believe that that is a specialized area that we need to focus on. It has all of the students that have IEPs, or gifted and talented students, or students with special needs. They have dollars attached to them. And so we need to ensure that those dollars, those services that the students are supposed to be getting, are getting to where they need to go. And I'm hearing from more than one, more than two, more than five, that that's an area we need to work on. So I would partner with Student Support Services, who administers that area, and work with them to be more supportive of those families that have concerns about that. I first have to figure out what the concerns are, and I would collect. The
Truck goes by, we're just going to pause. We're good, okay.
So I would find out what are the concerns, because those are valid concerns. I'd ask parents, guardians to send me what their concerns are so that we can address them. Because if it's one or two concerns, it's still valid. Maybe it's already being offered the answer to their concern, but maybe it just needs to be publicized more. Or maybe it's an area that we need to really address, and we need to hit it hard. I do know that I've had more than a few parents tell me that there is an IDEA book, which is it's a book for families that have IEPs. And it's awfully large. Parents don't read it. So maybe we could work to shorten that, provide a shortened version so that parents can get the highlights, and then if you have a specific, and maybe they already have that, I don't know, but we need to get that out.
Well, there's a reason there are quick start guides. Helps you get started and jump right in.
Yep. And maybe it's just about connecting the dots for parents, maybe. But again, that's communication. If it already exists, then we need to get the word out that it already exists, so that they can get the resource.
Okay. Do you know where in the school district the lowest student to teacher ratio is, and where is the highest?
I do know. That is a really tough question to answer, because I did try to do some research on that. And I don't know if that's just not at a district level as far as the class ratios per school, but I do know that when I taught, I had about 25 to 1 for all of my 10th grade science classes. And I would, if I had to make an educated guess, I think it's higher in our neighborhood schools, and maybe a little lower in some of our specialized schools. But I'm not sure. I really don't know those numbers, but I can definitely look them up.
Okay. In areas where where the student to teacher ratio is too high, do you have any ideas about how that can be addressed?
I would love to see more staff placed in the room, more paraprofessionals, more. I would love to see that, because that would help the teacher to be more effective, and maybe they could do some small group work. But again, I think if it's over 30, which I want to say maybe their union limit with the contract, I'm not sure, we need to address that. So I would be, again, going to the teachers to find out what is it that they need that they're not getting, because it should be able to be addressed very easily. It shouldn't be that high.
Okay. We talked about gender equality issues and diversity issues. So, gender equal dress codes. How do you stand on those? I'm sure that all of us watching have seen stories of where unfair dress codes were applied to female students and the damage it can do. Do you have thoughts?
I do. Coming from a private school where we wore a uniform, I tend to be more of an advocate for a uniform, but I definitely have seen where it was unfair towards girls. I think it's unfair, and I actually asked the principal, can we address this? And she had a reason why she chose that, and it made sense. But it just seems like there should be a better way so that it's more equal. I definitely have a problem with our girls being treated unfairly as far as the dress code goes. But I don't know what the solution is. I tried to work with the principal, and I don't know what the solution is as far as from an administrative perspective. I'll give you the example. They wanted the girls had to have like a skirt, and her reasoning was because when the girls go up the stairs, the boys can see under their skirt.
Okay.
I understood that, but it seems unfair to just penalize the girls in that manner. So I understood what she meant, but it just seems like there should be a better way to do that. And she couldn't come up with a way, and I couldn't either. So I'm open on that one. I'd like to know more about some potential solutions, because I definitely think it's unfair. It's definitely biased.
It sounds a lot like you are soliciting audience feedback on this issue.
Definitely. I definitely. I don't have the solution for that one, but I definitely would like to know what the community thinks on that.
So we put a link to your Facebook page in the comments. Anybody who would like to contact you, is that a good place to reach you?
Yes, please do.
All right. All right, so bullying, obviously a huge issue right now,
Definitely.
especially with the recent tragedy. Do you have a proposition for dealing with bullying besides a no tolerance policy?
Well, I think a no tolerance policy is a start, but that's definitely not where we need to stay. Unfortunately, I've been to a funeral not too long ago of students that succumb to peer pressure from bullying, and it's a very real phenomenon. I think we need to equip our teachers. We need to equip our parents on some signs and signals, how to effectively communicate, and even if it's just about listening for clues, because we don't know how to deal with social media. I'm not that old, but I am kind of old. But we didn't have that. Our bullying was a little different. It was more in your face. You kind of knew what it was, but it's so subtle now, and it's so prevalent across social media. And we just need to be aware. We need to have all avenues of communication open for our students. Teachers, the schools, we spend the majority of the day with kids. So we need to be able to see the signs. And I think really good teachers see them. Mm-hmm. But we need to also support them when they see that. It can't be difficult for our teachers to be advocates for our kids. It needs to be that they have the support that they need to advocate for students. It can't be difficult for parents to advocate for kids. We just need to do better. To say no tolerance, that's to me the start. That's what we should say. But we need to change policy or add to the policy or do something where the supports that are in the trenches with our kids that see the signs and the signals have what they need to advocate for kids. So I think the no bullying policy, the no tolerance, that's a start. We can do better. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, we can do differently. I'm not saying that it's not working. We can just do differently.
All right. So we are about 10 minutes away from 7 o'clock.
Wow.
I know. I told you it would go fast.
You did.
So if you have any questions for Kareem, submit them now to make sure that I have time to see them here and ask before our 10 minutes are up. But in the meantime, I have a question about sex ed.
Oh, okay.
This is an important topic for me, particularly, even though I don't have kids in the schools. But as you know, I'll just remind everybody in the viewing audience, Ohio does not have a state curriculum for sex ed. And locally, there are upwards of 40 schools who are currently teaching abstinence-only, religious-based sex ed, which abstinence-only programs they don't work. Mm-hmm. So comprehensive curricula are considered the best. What would you change about the Cincinnati Public Schools sex ed system?
Well, as a mom and having been a teacher, we need to get the information out. I think abstinence is one way, but it's not the only way. We actually have in Cincinnati, a very high rate of STDs amongst the teenage population. Mm-hmm. And that means that the abstinence only is not working. So we need to meet them where they are, and we need to educate them. And I'm all for that. I would love to do that since our schools are community learning centers. I would love to have that partnership with the medical centers that are already in our schools, a lot of our schools. Mm-hmm. And I think that should be something that is channeled through the community learning centers, the medical-based centers. And that's something that I think that should be there. I really do. How that looks, I'm not sure. But I think it needs to be there because we have a group of students who are abstaining, but we also have a group of students who are not. And I would want to give them information, not promote it, but they definitely need some information on if you're going to, this is what you need to do, you need to know. I just think I come from the school of thought where it's far better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it as far as the information goes. And so I don't know definitively what it should look like from a curriculum standard, but I do know that we have the resource already in a lot of our schools with them being community learning centers. So we have dental clinics, we have medical clinics. Let's use them to get the information out accurately, at least have it available. Now we can't make them come, but we can have it there. So.
And would you incorporate diversity practices in sex ed?
I would.
Okay.
I think that would be an awesome thing to do. Yep.
It's top on a list of wants in sex ed.
Yeah.
All right. So, how are we doing on time? Let me check. We got about 5 minutes left. If you have any questions, go ahead and submit them now. I'm gonna jump right in.
Okay.
To a tricky question in today's time.
Okay.
Charter schools. Public funds going to charter schools, for or against?
Oh, definitely against. Oh, definitely against. I pay my property taxes. Definitely against that. Our public schools need all the monies that we can get, and our public schools are accountable to the state. So, you know, if a person wants to start a school, I think that's wonderful. Do it with your own money. Don't do it with public money, because our schools need that.
Okay. So then how do you feel about school vouchers?
I'm not for school vouchers, but I understand why parents feel like they need a voucher. And I've said that before, and I've had to qualify that. I'm not, the district has to pay for that. So that, again, is taking money from our students. But parents feel like they need something different. If your neighborhood school is not giving you what you feel like you need, then parents have opted, the ones that I've spoken to have opted for the vouchers to replace what they feel like they're not getting in their neighborhood school. So I understand that need. So my solution is, let's improve the neighborhood schools so that there's not a need for a voucher, because I don't support vouchers. I don't support taking public monies for public schools and putting them someplace else. And that's exactly what has to happen with a voucher. It has to happen with charters. And it's not a little bit of money, it's a significant amount of money, plus transportation costs. So, you know, I think we can do better so that parents don't have those as options. That's what they want. They're wanting better for their kids. That's why they're choosing charter schools. That's why they're choosing vouchers. So let's fix our schools so that they don't even need those options. That's my solution.
I can't imagine anybody disagreeing with that. I can't. So do you have any concerns about how the current federal leadership will affect the local schools?
We only have a few minutes, don't we?
Sorry, should I have led with that one?
Definitely have some concerns. We need to simply stated, I think, we have to do a better job as citizens and being more involved. If we're not, try not to give specifics so we don't get off topic, but if we're not involved with what's going on at the federal level that's affecting our state funding to our district schools, if we're not at the table or at least have an ear open, then we're going to lose money. Our current, Ms. DeVos has already taken some money from the state of Ohio, but I'm trying to be respectful of our time. But we have to make noise, and we have to at least be informed. And so I think it all trickles down. It all connects on some level. The start is to just get involved with what's going on locally. Get involved with what's going on locally, because the state affects what's going on locally. Then you can't help but, if the state is affected by what's going on federally, then you're going to just be intertwined. But we got to be in it to win it.
Okay.
So Yeah.
So what would you recommend people right here on the ground do to help get involved with schools locally?
Well, first, elect me as your school board candidate. That's a simple one. Go out and vote in November. Vote for the levy because we need it. Our kids need it. Ask questions of candidates. Keep them accountable to what they say they're going to do. That's a big one. If you voted for the preschool promise and you're finding out that it's not going the way that you wanted, go to board meetings, ask questions. That's public information. And that's just about making people be accountable to you. We wouldn't write a check to someone for X number of dollars and not ask about what the return on your investment is. So it's the same type of principle to me. Explain in lay terms so I can understand what's going on. And so then there's no confusion. I would say elect officials that are going to report back to you and be accountable to you and not give you attitude, not have you feel like it's an inconvenience, want to help you. That's the start of it. Ask questions. They should be accountable on some level. When you send an email, it should get returned. If you see them on the street, it shouldn't be an issue. It should be, hey, how can I help? We're public servants. I'm a public servant. So that's how I think people can, it just starts with asking questions and accountability. And if you have children or not, it doesn't matter. We as citizens, whether it's parents or just a regular citizen, we have to be responsible for our education system, because if we don't get engaged and affect change now, then we're going to be involved on the back end with social service agencies or the prison pipeline. So we have to, it's everyone's responsibility to get involved with the education system, whether you have kids or not. Ask questions.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
So I think we're pretty much ready to wrap up, but before we go, is there anything you'd like to conclude with?
I am running to support our early learners with the preschool promise and kindergartners and their parents. I think if we engage our early learners now, then it'll be easier later. If we get them loving school now and we teach their parents how to advocate, they will absolutely be better students in elementary, better high school students. I'm running to support our teachers and workforce development, career development, programming. Our kids need more options. I've already talked to Laura Mitchell about it, and she's looking into that also. But we need to be able to offer as much as we can to our students so that they can be gainfully employed once they leave high school. I'm also running on more community engagement. I want to be the eyes and ears of our regular citizens. I want to be in community council meetings and let you know what's going on from a board's perspective. I want engagement, and I want to be able to do something a little different with our board. I'm not trying to go in and just have it be status quo. I'd like to do something different. And what's the definition of insanity? If you do the same thing and expect a different result, that's the definition of insanity. So let's do something different. Elect someone different, and that's me, a public servant, just different.
All right. Well, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.
And if you would like to contact Kareem with follow-up questions,
Please do.
We put a link to her website and her Facebook page in the comments. And you can also comment on this video and we'll tag you.
Okay.
If somebody asks a follow-up question, you can see it that way.
Okay.
Okay.
That sounds great. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you for being with us. Be on the lookout for upcoming events, including next week. We'll have a Q&A with Mayor Cranley. Please join us on Tuesday. Good night.